What if everything you thought you knew about Meghan Markle and her family was a lie? What if, behind the carefully curated headlines, the private conversations, the whispered arguments, and the late-night phone calls, a storm had been quietly brewing for years, one that no one dared speak about publicly? Imagine being caught in the middle of a family feud so explosive that hidden recordings, leaked messages, and shocking claims could shake the foundations of one of the most famous families in the world. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. That storm has arrived, and it comes with voices you were never meant to hear. It all started quietly, like a rumor in a room where no one was listening. But soon, the whispers became a roar, and now, three voices, Thomas Markle, Doria Ragland, and Samantha Markle, have broken their silence. They are speaking for the first time in years, and what they're revealing isn't just gossip. It's a tapestry of secrets, tension, and betrayal that stretches from Montecito to the gilded halls of the palace. Thomas Markle, the man who famously missed his daughter's wedding due to health issues and media frenzy, has finally decided to tell his side. For years, he claims, he was pressured to remain silent, to let the world see only the smiling images of a happy family while the truth simmered beneath. The media painted him as the meddling father, the man who embarrassed the family, who couldn't keep his distance. But Thomas says there is another story, one filled with nuance, manipulation, and pressure from forces most of us can't even imagine. He claims that for years, he was caught in a delicate balancing act. Protect his family's privacy while keeping himself safe from the public, the palace, and the media's relentless eye. And then there is Doria Ragland, Meghan's mother. Known for her quiet grace, her unwavering discretion, and her steady presence behind the scenes, Doria has watched events unfold with a kind of calm fury only a protective mother can possess. For years, she maintained silence, allowing Meghan's narrative to be told by the media, by the palace, by anyone but her. But silence is its own kind of story, and now, Doria's perspective is emerging, not as a series of statements, but as a nuanced, deeply human reflection of what it's like to be caught between a daughter's public life and a private life that is anything but peaceful. And then, unexpectedly, Samantha Markle, Meghan's half-sister, steps into the story like a lightning bolt. She has broken the dam of secrecy with something the world has never seen: private voice recordings. Recordings of Meghan herself, allegedly discussing explosive files, the kind that could be described as insurance on the royal family. Samantha claims these recordings reveal conversations that were never intended for public ears, conversations that cast a light on tensions, fears, and possible strategies to protect oneself in a world where the stakes are unimaginably high. What exactly is in these recordings? Are they evidence of betrayal, fear, strategic planning, or something even more shocking? The answer isn't simple, but Samantha insists the world needs to hear them. And as she shares snippets, leaks, and hints of the content, the story begins to take shape, weaving a complex narrative of family loyalty, personal ambition, and the pressure of living life under a microscope. For those who have followed Meghan and Harry from the early days, this is a story with familiar faces but a dramatically different tone. It isn't about fairy tales or happily ever afters. It's about the hidden costs of fame, the complexity of family relationships, and the moments when private truths collide with public perception. Have you ever wondered what it's like to be under the constant glare of media scrutiny, to have your every move judged, misinterpreted, and amplified? This is what Thomas, Doria, and Samantha are revealing, a human story behind the headlines. Thomas has spoken before, yes, in carefully controlled interviews. But what he is revealing now goes deeper, darker, and more personal than ever before. He recounts the pressures placed on him, the threats to stay silent, and the moments when he felt both powerless and compelled to protect the family he loves, even while feeling misunderstood and vilified. The narrative he presents is both heartbreaking and shocking. You begin to wonder, how much of the media's portrayal has been accurate, and how much has been manipulated, filtered, or misunderstood? Meanwhile, Doria's silence was never simple. Behind that calm exterior was a mother witnessing the public unraveling of her daughter's life, the misrepresentation of intentions, and the mounting tension between family members. She watched as narratives were spun, as relationships strained, as public opinion swirled, and as her daughter faced criticism that was often cruel, unfair, and unfounded. Now, with this new revelation of events, Doria's voice adds depth, perspective, and a maternal lens that reframes the story entirely. Her words remind us that every public scandal has private consequences, and every headline hides layers of complexity. Then there is Samantha, the disruptor. She enters with a mission: to reveal what has been hidden. Her leaked recordings, she says, are the proof, the evidence, the irrefutable moments that reveal the tension, the fear, and the strategies employed behind closed doors. But as the world watches, questions immediately arise. Are these recordings accurate? Are they taken out of context? And what motivated Samantha to release them now, after years of silence herself? Her revelations are explosive, yes, but they are also complicated, raising more questions than answers. Questions the public is desperate to see resolved. What makes this story even more compelling is its timing. The public fascination with the royal family and Meghan Markle has never been higher. Every statement, every photograph, every interview is dissected, analyzed, and debated across news outlets and social media platforms. And now, these new voices. The voices of Thomas, Doria, and Samantha offer a perspective that has been missing, a perspective that challenges our assumptions, our loyalties, and our understanding of a family that seems always to live under extraordinary scrutiny. This is not just gossip. This is not just another headline. This is a story about human relationships, about the price of fame, about family, and about the secrets that can simmer for years before finally exploding into the public eye. The recordings, the claims, the revelations, all of it forces us to reconsider what we thought we knew about Meghan Markle, her family, and the shadowed corridors of influence that shaped the lives of the famous. What would you do if the world told you to stay silent while everything you held dear was being twisted, misrepresented, and weaponized against you? For Thomas Markle, Meghan Markle's father, that was not a hypothetical question. It was his reality for years. He has finally broken his silence, and the story he tells is far more complicated than the public has ever been led to believe. This isn't a tale of a father trying to sabotage his daughter, nor is it the caricature the tabloids have long painted. It's a story of pressure, betrayal, and the impossible choices one man faced while living under the relentless glare of the world's attention. Thomas's journey begins long before Meghan ever became a household name. A man with humble beginnings, a quiet life behind the scenes, suddenly thrust into an orbit of royal attention, public expectation, and media scrutiny he never asked for. By the time Meghan announced her engagement to Prince Harry, Thomas was already living in a strange limbo, caught between pride for his daughter and the anxiety of what the spotlight could bring. He had witnessed the tabloids' appetite for scandal, the merciless way the press can dissect every word, every gesture, every photograph. But nothing could prepare him for what came next. The engagement was supposed to be a joyful moment, a celebration of family and love. Instead, it became a pressure cooker. Thomas claims that from the very beginning, he was being pushed, manipulated, and warned by media insiders, palace contacts, and even distant acquaintances. That every move he made would be scrutinized, analyzed, and potentially weaponized. The instructions were subtle at first. Don't say anything controversial, avoid interviews, stay away from cameras. But over time, the pressure escalated, moving from gentle advice to outright threats, unspoken but understood. Thomas recalls the nights lying awake, feeling trapped. He wasn't a man used to deception or duplicity, yet suddenly he was expected to navigate a labyrinth where every word could be twisted, every action could be misconstrued. The pressure was not just public, it was personal. He was advised to suppress his own feelings, to bury his concerns, to let the narrative unfold without interference. And yet, the father in him couldn't remain completely silent. How could he, knowing the private struggles, the hidden truths, and the challenges his daughter might face under the relentless public eye? The wedding itself became the ultimate test. Thomas had hoped to be present, to walk Meghan down the aisle, to be part of the happiest day of her life. But health concerns, compounded by the media storm surrounding him, prevented that. He has been criticized mercilessly for missing it, vilified as selfish, opportunistic, and out of control. But the truth, he claims, is far more nuanced. Thomas was caught in a perfect storm of personal vulnerability and external pressure, where even a simple decision carried enormous weight. Every step, every statement, every photograph could, and did, ignite headlines around the world. Even after the wedding, Thomas found himself under continued scrutiny. He describes a relentless cycle of public shaming, media intrusion, and unsolicited advice from those claiming to know better. Calls came from journalists, paparazzi, and insiders who hinted at consequences should he deviate from the narrative carefully orchestrated by palace contacts. He felt like a man walking a tightrope with no safety net, knowing that a single misstep could ruin his reputation and, worse, cause harm to his daughter. One of the most shocking elements Thomas reveals is the sense of isolation he experienced. He was cut off from normal support systems, unsure who he could trust. Friends warned him, strangers advised him, and the press painted a one-dimensional picture of a man who wanted attention and drama. Thomas claims he was neither seeking fame nor publicity. He was seeking understanding and fairness. And yet, in a world where public perception rules, even the best intentions can be twisted into betrayal. Thomas also discusses the complex emotions that come with being a parent in the spotlight. Pride, fear, love, guilt, they all collided inside him. He wanted to protect Meghan, to ensure her safety and happiness, while simultaneously navigating his own personal challenges. The dichotomy was exhausting. At times, he says he felt paralyzed, knowing that every action could have unintended consequences. And the fear wasn't abstract. The media coverage often framed him as a villain, a man who had failed his daughter in the public eye, whether fairly or not. The tipping point, Thomas reveals, came when he was asked, or rather pressured, to keep quiet about certain family issues. These weren't minor details. These were serious concerns, things he believed the public deserved to understand, but that powerful voices insisted must remain hidden. For years, he complied, fearful of both the personal and public fallout. But the burden of silence became unbearable. He watched as misunderstandings spiraled, as narratives solidified, as family members faced criticism for actions and decisions he knew had more complexity behind them. What ultimately pushed Thomas to speak now? He cites a combination of personal resolve and timing. He realized that silence was no longer protecting anyone. In fact, it was allowing false narratives to harden, misrepresentations to proliferate, and tensions to grow. By speaking, he hopes to add nuance, to offer his perspective, and to shed light on the pressures, manipulations, and decisions that shaped not just his actions, but the public perception of the family as a whole. And yet, even as he speaks, Thomas is aware of the risks. He knows the public may continue to misinterpret his words, that headlines will simplify complex situations, and that critics will find fault no matter what he says. But he is resolute. For him, the stakes are no longer about reputation, they are about truth. About revealing the human side of a story that has often been reduced to caricature and gossip. Thomas also opens up about the emotional toll of seeing his daughter face criticism and controversy while he remained bound by silence. The anxiety, the frustration, and the helplessness of watching from the sidelines created deep personal conflict. He felt powerless, trapped between the desire to protect and the necessity of obeying unspoken rules. Each missed opportunity to clarify, to speak, or to intervene felt like a wound that would never fully heal. Perhaps most startling, Thomas claims that he has kept information for years that could radically shift public understanding of Meghan's choices, her family dynamics, and even her interactions with the royal family. He paints a picture of someone caught between loyalty to his daughter, fear of legal or social repercussions, and the moral imperative to tell the truth. This triad of pressure created a scenario where every decision carried profound consequences, and every moment of silence felt like complicity in a story that was being misrepresented. But Thomas's revelations are only the first piece of the puzzle. As the narrative unfolds, it becomes clear that his perspective is deeply intertwined with the actions and silence of others in Meghan's circle. Doria Ragland's maternal discretion, Samantha Markle's eventual decision to leak recordings, and the intricate network of palace advisors all converge to create a web of complexity, tension, and potential scandal. Thomas's story is therefore not isolated. It is the opening act in a larger drama that involves loyalty, betrayal, secrecy, and revelation. Even as he recounts these experiences, Thomas never loses sight of one core truth: his love for Meghan. Everything he has endured, every criticism he has faced, and every moment of public vilification has been endured for one reason: to protect and support his daughter. That love, combined with the burden of years of pressure, forms the emotional core of his testimony. It is a story that is both relatable and extraordinary. Anyone who has felt trapped between personal loyalty and public perception can understand the tension he describes. Thomas's narrative raises essential questions for the audience. How much do we really know about the people behind the headlines? How often do we judge based on incomplete information? And how do we reconcile the human complexity of family with the relentless simplicity of media narratives? These questions are not theoretical. They are central to understanding the revelations that will unfold in the chapters to come.